Hey guys, welcome back to SLT Learning, and this is Ankit Prajapati, and today we're gonna cover part 7 of Playwright Automation Engineer list of questions and answer for the job interview. Okay, so far we have done with the part 6, right? Total 1 to 6 and 16 questions. So if you just want to refer, or if you are appearing for the automation engineer role with the Playwright, right, you can just follow this particular playlist, and this will give you the most of the question and answer with the syntax and with the description for your interview. Okay, so let's go and see what are the next 10 questions that we're gonna take on this particular part 7. So first things, we will see how to handle the dynamic elements, then we will talk about the trace viewer and how we can do the debug things. Then we will see how we can implement the login and reporting in Playwright test. Then we will see how we can use the inspector for the Playwright, and how it help to create the test cases. Then we will see how to handle the test resiliency and ignore the flakiness in the test cases. Then we will see about how to handle the authentication pop-up on other and the other level of the browser level pop-up, and how we can interact with them. We will see how to test in a both headless and headed mode. Then we will see how we can handle the iframe in a Playwright. We will talk about the network interactions, and we will see about the mobile browser test using the Playwright. Okay, so let's go with our first question. How does Playwright handle the dynamic element? So first things, what is dynamic element? So dynamic element, that means the element that loads synchronously, and like sometimes appear or disappear, like blinking elements, or sometimes is changed frequently, right? The locators keeps changing frequently, or the some kind of the, I will just say, is the validation that we put for the security purpose on the website. Those kind of element are very hard to locate and validate. So for that, what we can use auto weighting concept, then smart locators. If you remember the smart locators, right, like by role or by, I would just say, is the then we can use the retry mechanism to retry the same pattern couple of time, and just make sure if that element is located or not. Okay, so auto weighting for visibility and DOM attachment and the stability, that we all know, right? So we can just put that kind of I will just say is the command to wait for that particular things. Then we can use page dot locator for dynamic element, which that will automatically help to retry for certain condition to be become true. If you remember, right, when we have talked about the auto wait, we have talked about certain condition, right? Auto wait implicitly help us to fulfill certain condition, like the element should be visible and enabled, then it will perform the actions. So that is, we can also consider in a retry logic. Okay, then we can use explicit wait for certain condition to be visible, to have a text, or to be loaded, or something like that way. We can use wait for selector and expect to have a text kind of locator, and a kind of syntax to use the explicit wait and handle the dynamic element. Okay, then we can put the timeout configurations. If something, like, let's suppose, if something always there, right, and we need to time out for 1 second or 2 seconds to wait for the dynamic element to appear after page loaded, then we can use that particular timeout, and we can provide the number of millisecond that we want. We can use pooling with except. So if you remember, right, in a Selenium we also have a pooling timeout, right, fluent timeout, where we put the pooling condition to wait for certain condition, and once that happen, then we can locate. Okay, so like to have a text that considered as a pooling condition with the expect. Then we can wait for the visibility and count check. We can just make sure the number of notification is visible, or number of items. So over here we are checking the number of item, is class dot item is total number of item is having the count 5, then perform the next action. So this kind of the locators, or this kind of the validation, we can use for the dynamic element. Okay, so the next question will be explain the concept of Playwright, trace viewer, and the debugging capability. So we all know, right? We have, I think, the similar questions that we have done in the one of the previous part. So Playwright trace viewer will help us to do the debugging things, and we can visually see the screenshot, action, console log, and network request, and all those things. And based on that, we can do our I will just say is the troubleshooting on the failed test cases. So a trace is the complete recording of user actions, right? Trace is a complete action recording of the user actions. Then it will be perform. It will be take all the snapshot, okay, and it will be see the DOM state every step. Then it will put the console log and network request and response and metadata like selector and the time taken and all those things, okay. And how you can enable the trace, so you can add a trace in a playwright.config.ts. so this is your syntax. You can answer like this way: we need to add a trace setting under the playwright.config.ts like this way. Use trace on first retry or on failure or return on failure, or if the uh, if the system is if the test case is failed and we are doing on a first retry, we can start the trace, okay. So we can see the log and we can do the debug. And how you can open the trace viewer, this is the command npx playwright so trace and trace.zip. so once the execution will be finished, it will create the trace.zip automatically, and using this command you can open that particular information where you can see all the information about that your failed test cases. So these are the different capability that trace viewer will have, like action timeline, each step will be like click, fill, and all those things will be displayed over here. DOM snapshot, it will before and after of every interaction, it will take this information from the DOM. Then selector inside, so it will give the locators and selector inside if it is match or failed to locate. Console log, network activity, it will see all the request and response and all those things. Error and exception, it will with the stack and it will trace all the stack and error messages and put in the console log for the report. And why we use the trace viewer? To debug the failed test cases, understand why selector did not match, catch the flaky test cases and the timing issues, and reproduce and fix the bug without rerunning the test cases. So these are the key things that we use the trace viewer, okay. So this is how you can answer how the trace viewer and debugging capability work in a Playwright. So the next question will be, how do you implement the logging and reporting in a Playwright, okay. So the logging in Playwright, we normally use the console.log to put for the custom log. So if you want to see like this way, this is one of the syntax, right? This is like starting a test case, then after the each and every line you can put like console.log, and this will also help you to do the logging on the Playwright test case. Then you can capture the browser console log, so you can just see the capturing the browser console log. So you can just see console.log browser console, and messages, whatever the message is coming from the browser request and response and message tags, you can also capture and you can print into the console.log, okay. For reporting, we know we have different kind of report that we have already seen. We can configure in a Playwright built-in playwright.config.ts like different reporters. We have like the HTML reporters, JSON, JUnit, and list reporter. So this kind of the reporter we can configure in playwright.config.ts file, and whenever we execute, this kind of the report will get generated automatically, okay. And these are the supported built-in reporter like list dot html, JSON, and JUnit and line and all those things, okay. Then another thing is that Winston is provide the additional way to do the logging in a structurized manner and with all the timestamp. So for that, what you need to do, you need to install npx install Winston, and once it is installed, what you can do in your test case, you can import, and using this one, this is the method. You need to first create the logger. So you can create a logger is equal to Winston create logger, and this is this will create the transport layer logger over here, and then you can use this logger to put .info, .error, and all those kind of information that if you remember, right, in JUnit and testng we also do the log, or sorry, log for J in Selenium we use the logger, right. So for different condition you can use the logger like .pass, .skip, .fail, and all those things, okay. So based on that, it will display the logger in a Winston file. So question number 64, explain the role of Playwright inspector and how it can help in the test development. So we all know, right, if we want to debug something, we need to use the Playwright inspector, and that also help us to allow us to pause the test, step through, and also take the action on the particular steps if we required. So how you can launch the Playwright inspector? So you need to use this Playwright pw debug is equal to 1. Then you need to put your command npx playwright test to execute the test case, and when you enter this particular command, it will open the Playwright inspector automatically in another window, okay. And what is the main feature of Playwright Inspector? Step through the test, then hover and highlights the element, view all the actions for that element that you can perform, see assertion result, and view full code and states. So these are the key features of the Playwright Inspector, and this is how you can initiate the Playwright Inspector or launch the Playwright Inspector for your test cases. Okay. And what is the use in the test development? So run it through debug mode, watch Playwright interact with the page, and based on that you can see the Playwright Inspector like this way: step, resume, pause, snapshots, console, and source. So this is the UI will be look like, and pause test programmatically. So if you want to see, this is how you can will open and let you export this information. So when you use page.pause, it will inspector will open and let you export the other functionality of that particular test case to write it further. So if you know these things, right, it will help to do the test automation, to write the automation test case in a better way. Okay, what are the benefits? The debug flaky and failing test cases. That for that one, Playwright Inspector is very useful. Develop a new test case easily because you know everything. When you open it like this way, it will, for your each and every step, it will show you the all this required information, and based on that you can modify your step and you can rerun that one. Understand the complete flows. So it will help us to understand the complete flow and test dynamically UI visibility. It helps us to pause and wait for asynchronous behavior to see, to handle the dynamic web element as well. Okay, so this is something you can use, and this is different tools and Playwright Inspector. Start it with pw debug is equal to 1, pause inside test case. You can use this await page.pause, and it will pause that particular steps, and it will help you to do the debugging step by step, and you can identify the common use cases among those things. Okay, how you can ensure the test resiliency and the handle the flakiness in the Playwright test. Okay, so to ensure the test is resistant means test is reliable in our term. Okay, and minimizing the flakiness, that means the failure, the frequent failure of the test case, right? What we need required. So Playwright provides certain built-in mechanism and best practices to make the robust even against the dynamic UI or slow loading elements. Okay, so the first things you need to always make sure you use the locator method, right? I think page dot and dollar, this is the old one. I think this has been deprecated to locate the web element in a Playwright. So now you can use this page dot locator. This will help you to locate the element and perform the action. Okay, so this is considered as a best practice. I know this is not working in the latest version, but if you are working with the old version, avoid to use this one, try to use this one. Okay, page dot locator. Then take the leverage of the auto waiting. If you all know, right, the Playwright will wait for certain condition for the element, so always make sure you leverage that particular auto waiting inbuilt feature rather than using the wait for timeout or some kind of the manual timeout for your test cases. Okay, use the locator which are stable and descriptive. Okay, do not depend on the number 3 position like this way. This is one of the I will just say is not the right way to locate anything in web-based application. Most of the times in XPath axis as well, we go with the 9th element or 10th element and try to locate, but the best way, try to locate the element by the name of the element or test ID or username of the element, or some kind of the element which will not depend on the tags of the or the number of child element. Okay, try to avoid this kind of the locators in your test cases. Add retry for the flaky testness, so in a playwright.config. So always make sure if something goes fail, and this is the best practice. Okay, even though you are running it initial stage, always add a retry 1, 2 or 3 based on your requirement. Okay, split the test cases based on the user flow or the features. That you always make sure you do not run always end-to-end test cases. End-to-end test cases will always come, but it will become at the end of the testing. So what you need to do, you need to make sure you divide your test cases and be more focused on the validation and verification uh, path. So just make sure you divide the module wise, feature wise, and you can write the test cases based on the different user stories. Okay, and try to achieve the end goal of the end client. Use the test.step to clear the test logic. So this will help you like await test.step. That means they will understand this is the login test and you are performing the login related activity in this particular whatever the curly bracket will come. Okay, Always use the stressing and debugging tool for the flaky test cases like which are frequently failing. Try to debug them in a right way. Run in a headed mode when debugging is going on. So always run in a headed mode so you can see the browser and you can see each and every line by line what exactly action is happening on the inspector or the debug mode, and what exactly happening on the UI side. Okay. How to handle the authentication pop-up and other browser level interaction in Playwright. Okay, so handling the authentication pop-up and browser level interaction like native dialogues and file picker, something like that, where sometimes the permission pop-up will also come, right? So what you can do, you can use you can provide the like Playwright provide the inbuilt API to interact with them. Okay, so handle the HTTP authentication pop-up, browser based authentication. So what you can do, use HTTP credential in new context. So when you create a new context, use the HTTP credential and provide the username and password over there. And when you go with the login page, okay, when you navigate to the login page with the basic authentication, it will automatically pass the username and password to that authentication pop-up which is based on the HTTP, okay, basic authentication. Then handle JavaScript dialogues. How you can handle the JavaScript dialog like alerts, prompt and config message. So for that one we have already seen in detail view of this question like page.on and dialog. This will help you to handle the all the pop-up. Either you can accept, you can dismiss, or you can enter the text as well into the pop-up. Okay, so page.on and single slash dialog. This is the syntax that you need to use like this way, page.on dialog, and this is the dialog method, and you are just you can after this one you can provide all the actions that you need to perform on the dialogues. Either you want to accept or you want to dismiss or what exactly you want to do. Okay, how to handle the file upload that we have already seen, but we can revise this one again. We can use promise to all. This will wait for both the action to be completed. So first we will click, right, first we will click and then we will wait for this particular element to come, and then we can set the file path. This is the file path and this will be upload the file on a respective folder. Okay, how to handle the browser permission pop-up. So for that one you can use the permissions, like you can use the context like over here HTTP context. Same way you can use the context where you can provide the permission and geolocation. So these both things you can provide, and you can accept the permission related browser pop-up. Okay, so permission and geolocation we require. This is the questions they ask one of my candidate in interview, how you handle the browser permission prompts in the Playwright. So you can use the, like in a new context you need to provide permissions like geolocations, and you need to provide geolocation what and specific location of that particular area where it is allowed, where it is permitted to click on OK. Okay, handle the pop-up windows like multiple page. How you can handle that one, again you can use the promise to all. So this will help you to perform all both the actions. So once you click on open a new window, then it will be wait for the event, and then you can perform your other action like pop-up dot click text is equal to confirm. You can confirm, wait for load state, and then you can perform other actions. Okay, so these are the way you can handle the authentication and other browser related activity. Just remember couple of them, and that is more than helpful for you to answer in the interview. So HTTP basic authentication, HTTP credential you can use in a config file, in a context config. JavaScript dialog you can just use page.on dialog one with the accept and dismiss method. File upload you can use set a input file and file chooser and set file. Then location and camera permission you can provide the permission and browser.new context. Then you can use pop-up window, you can use this page.wait for event and pop-up event, and then you can perform your next action. Okay, explain how to run the test case in both headed and headless modes. Why this question is coming again and again? Because this is one of the frequently asked questions, and you need to know the syntax. And px playwright.test, this will run in a headless mode by default, but if you want to see the browser you can use npx playwright test hyphen headed. It will display the browser, and this is the key difference that you can answer based on in your interviews. Okay, how to handle the iframe. Okay, this is one of the crucial things, how you can handle the iframe in the Playwrights. So an iframe is something that we can see whenever we have an iframe, we will see this tag in HTML. Okay, like iframe tag we will see in HTML. So how you can access the iframe by the locator. So you can use this one, frame locator. If you know this is the iframe, right, do not use the simple locator, use the frame locator, and this will simply access and auto wait for frame to load. Okay, so over here you need to make sure you need to use frame locator, not the locator. And once the frame locator come, and once you move to that particular frame, then you can use the locator to perform the other action. Okay, so over here you see this is a frame element, and once we locate the frame element, then we use frame element dot locator and we can perform the other actions, like not page dot locator, over here frame element dot locator. Access the frame object. Okay, so how you can do, if you want to have a full control over the frame, this is little bit of advanced. What you can do, you can just constant frame handler await page dot frame and name of the frame. You can just, once you have name of the frame, then you can just say frame handler, then question mark, click on button. So this is another way you can handle the frame object for your particular test cases. So use this when the frame does not have a stable ID. Okay, when working with a multiple frame, when you are working with a multiple frame but the frame don't have a stable ID or locator, you can use this particular way to use. Okay, wait for the iframe to load and before interaction. So this is the way, the page dot frame locator, then iframe dot locator iframe name, and then wait for, and once the wait for is done, then put the fill up, then perform the fill up, like fill on the text box, like name input, then fill on a text box. So this is something that you need to always work in a sync when you are working with the iframe, and you need to wait the iframe to be loaded successfully, then perform the actions, click or anything you want to do, you can perform after that. Okay, so when to use frame and when to use frame locators. So frame locator is recommended for the direct and chainable locators. When you want to use like this way, frame locators you can use, but frame, only frame, you see this is the only frame when needing programming access to the frame. When use the needing means dynamic, if the something is not stable, then you can use this frame. Okay, page dot frame, otherwise frame dot locator will always work. Okay, so what are the common mistakes people do? So instead of using a page dot locator on iframe DOM, use frame locator. So most of the time they use page dot locator instead of frame dot locator. So over here you need to make sure frame dot locator you use. No waiting for iframe to load, like this way you are not, no use the wait for iframe, wait for selector or wait for certain condition to be happen and directly try to perform the actions. If you directly try to perform the action, maybe it will not identify and not perform the actions as you required. So always put this wait for certain condition to be happen and then perform your action. Okay, so this is how you handle the iframe, guys, in Playwright. How to handle the network interactions and the what are the different applications that we have. So let's we talk about little bit. So network interaction in Playwright is allow you to monitor, modify, mock or block the network request and response during the test execution. Okay, and this is particularly useful to test front-end behavior without relying on any backend services. So this will help you mostly on the UI, user interface testing. Okay, so how to interact with the network request. So use page.route to interact with the request. So you can just say await page.route, and this is the API async route comma request. So now you can just say console.log interacts. So request.url, it will print the URL, and await route continue. Do you want to continue or do you want to block? Okay, so you can use that kind of command over here. So common application for network interaction is mocking API response. You can use mocking API response. You can block the resource, if speed up the test case by blocking the ads, image analytics and all those things. You can use the block resource, then modify the request and header, like authentication tokens and all those things will be handled by this way. Simulate the error response, test front-end behavior like 500, 400. Instead of displaying this one, you can display some proper error response, error messages to the user. Log a traffic, debug the API call during a test case. You can log the traffic as well. Okay, so these are the different way how you can mock the API response. So this is the syntax of mocking the API response. Page.route, this is the route.fulfill, status should be 200, content type this, and body JSON response will be name Ankit and age 30. So this is how you can do the mock API response. How you can block this external resource. So once you will just say page.route, so whatever the image file you will see dot page png, right, whatever the dot png file you will have, you can abort, you can block it. whenever you see this in a URL, google-analytics.com, whenever you see this substring in a URL, you just says route to be abort. Okay, this is how you can block the external requests. Okay, so some are the features and method and use cases that we have mentioned over here. Intercept request, page.route, mock, modify, block. Continue request, route.continue, let the process unchanged. Fulfill and mock data, request.fulfill, this will help like this way mocking the API response. Then you can use abort request, you can use this like this way if you want to abort images or add for the speed. Listen to the traffic, page.on, request response, debug and logging. So this will debug all the test case. Page.on, it will take all the request and response and it will log in our particular test report. Okay, so this is how we can handle the network intersection and the application side. How do you perform mobile browser testing using the Playwright? So Playwright support mobile emulations and device description to be simulated in a viewport where you can touch and support all the mobile responsiveness behavior for your automations. So use predefined mobile devices, so like import Chromium and devices from Playwright. You can use like constant iPhone device is equal to iPhone 12. Then for this iPhone you can create the context and you can provide the browser and page, and you can start performing your all the actions. Okay, you see, you go to the URL, this will go to the mobile view, and then you can take a screenshot and you can start comparing the screenshot as well. Okay, list of some built-in devices. So how you can find a list of inbuilt devices? So you can use this particular command, devices from Playwright and console.log devices, and once you will run this two line, it will print all the devices which support in the Playwright version that you are for your testing. Okay, manual mobile emulation, if you want to create the manual viewport, custom viewport, how you can create? So in a context you can just say browser.new context, the viewport will be width and height, this is the mobile screen size you can put, user agent, you can provide this kind of the configuration, then device scale factor true, is mobile true, hash touch true, these are the parameter you can configure and you can perform your mobile emulation testing. Okay, use mobile emulation in test with Playwright test. So this is another way you can use import test and devices, then use device pixel 5, you can use like this way, and then you can perform your test cases. Okay, validate responsiveness design, how you can check? So check how menus collapse on small screen, validate touch interaction, test mobile only behavior like swap and tap, and capture the screenshot for the device to compare the different screenshot for the different devices UI. Okay, so these are the different device name. This is how you can pass the device name like in a single quote when you are passing like this way. You see devices, constant iPhone devices, single quote, you need to pass the device name like this way. But you can run this command, this will give you more list of the devices which will be supported on the Playwright version that you are working. Okay, and some of the best practice that we need to always make sure when we work on the device, mobile device, so always make sure you have a touch, hash touch should be true always, and media query testing, if you are use the media queries for testing, then test the CSS breakpoint. Okay, use the real device descriptor, so just make sure you match the viewpoint or viewport or anything which may match with the user real device user condition. Okay, combine the visual testing means detect and responsive layout break. So depend on the screenshot, capture the screenshot, compare the screenshot of the same device or the different device to make sure if anything has been broken on the UI side, you can capture and report to the development team. Okay, so these are the list of questions that we aim to cover in the part 7. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so we can come up with the new interview related videos for you. Okay, thank you for watching this video.